Hi, everybody. I'm Candid Frank Stanisci of Leaf Talk. Welcome to the Spanglish World Network on Zingo TV, channel 250. Please remember to download the Zingo TV app at the respective app stores for iOS and Android devices. While you download, make sure you rate and leave a comment. Both apps are absolutely free. Zingo TV is available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire TV sticks, Roku sticks, and also all smart TVs. 2016 forward. Now joining me is Aaron William Freeland for Leaf Talk. So let's talk about the Leafs. Let's talk about what uh, I guess it's fair to say that um, the Leafs have been a team that have overperformed in some people's eyes, the way people have been negative about the team, and underperformed in other people's eyes. It's been an interesting potpourri of issues this team has. Um, you know, the offense is going great or it isn't going great. There is no defense, never was any defense, won't be any defense. The goaltenders, I don't know. What day is it? It's been an interesting season thus far for the Maple Leafs.
It certainly has been. It's a combination of ups and downs, which most Leafs fans should be used to by now. There were the highs of beating our former general manager. There's also the low of dropping yet another game to our bottom dwelling residents in the Battle of Ontario. It's one of those we can't seem to win for losing. It is what it is, I guess.
For me, it's the biggest problem the Leafs have is when they tip the hand of their playoff capability. And usually that hand tipping leads to a lot of questions as to whether this team can once again make it past the first round and maybe even compete in the second round to the point where they might take that one as well. The biggest thing that I can say about the Maple Leafs is that offensively, they're very inventive. They're very creative. They execute well. They pass a lot. Some suggest maybe pass too much, and they look pretty, but they don't really do much because a team can set up defensively or a goaltender can hunker down and get into position before the Leafs can do something to surprise him, or after they could have surprised him and now they can't. The biggest problem I have with the Maple Leafs, and it's one that speaks to the playoffs for me more than anything, and that is that how easy are you to score against, and how hard is it to score against the other team? The biggest thing the Leafs can't do consistently all the time. We've seen them do it. We've seen them do it. Play a very difficult defensive game, not allowing teams any easy opportunity. And when the other team gets an opportunity, it's a very, low percentage opportunity. The Leafs don't do that enough. And when a team, no matter how effective they are for the whole season, even a team, especially teams that aren't that good, that all of a sudden one night they go, okay, let's respect this offense, let's play defense, let's tighten it up like Chicago did, like Buffalo did, like Ottawa just did. And I'm naming those three teams on purpose, that all of a sudden decided, you know what, we're not going to let these guys score. And then they find out that the Leafs are pretty easy to score on. And this is the part that concerns me looking ahead to the playoffs.
I can certainly agree and sympathize and say I see where you're coming from on that one. The problem that we have here is that Parker Kelly was allowed to score shorthanded, and that I think was the start of the snowball rolling downhill. And you know, after that, they scored in another 4 minutes. Batherson tied it at 2-all. When he scored less than 4 minutes later, it's one of those situations where the Leafs showed their vulnerabilities and showed no finish. Um, this is the situation we find ourselves in. Matthew Nyes got credit for a goal which barely went off the toe of his skate. And then Tyler Bertuzzi got in on the action. At least William Nylander now has extended his point streak to 12 games in a row. Um, Matthews unfortunately had his 7 game goal scoring streak end. But in the game that they played, I think it's maybe just as well. I think it would have felt like a bit of a letdown had his personal scoring streak managed to continue with the way that the rest of the team played around him. So yeah, it is what it is. I mean, with the when the Senators got their final goal on an empty net with more than 2.5 minutes left to play, you kind of figured that was going to be it for the Leafs. So,
Yeah, well, you
huh,
know, it is something to behold to see that how fortunate the Leafs are from a, if I may, from a positive perspective, the fact that they were able to hang on to Jones and he didn't go when he was up there for grabs by every other team or every other team able to pick him off the wire. None of them did. The Leafs had a chance to keep him, and they have an experienced goaltender with 450 games of experience, whom now is the quasi number one goaltender for the Maple Leafs, depending on which game it is. Um, Samsonov is going to get a chance to show what he can do. He he hasn't been effective, but he's also been. We've heard at least murmurs of the fact that he's had some personal problems that maybe may be affecting him, and we don't know what they are. Like, we don't know what's going on with him. He's been called sick. He's been sick. He's been all these different things that he's been. And it's not like are the Leafs saying that because he's not playing well to help him out, to give him a crutch, or is there really something going on with that guy that's been going on for a while, and that which is going on with him is causing him not to concentrate and be the goaltender he can be.
yeah, I mean, this is certainly a pickle for them to work around. You know,
Well, one thing's for sure. Technically, his game is crap. He's not playing. He's not a good goaltender. A friend of mine used to be a goalie coach up to junior A and stuff like that, and he was chapter and verse telling me that the real word to use, and in fact, he took umbrage with me using the word playing more compactly. Um, that he's swimming too much, which to my verbiage didn't connect, but I understand what he's saying because that's what I mean about compact. I mean none of this.
yeah,
I mean this. I just mean this flailing, and he referred to it as swimming, which okay, I'll grant, I'll bow to that term that he swims too much. In other words, he's flying from one side to the other, and he's just not really covering the net. He's covering more than the net, and if he's covering more than the net, some of the net's not being covered. That's
yeah,
just the simple math, right?
no, for sure, and it is definitely the swimming that is the major concern when it comes to this sort of thing. Because again, we need, for lack of a better term, quieter or more compact goaltending out of him, and it's not happening.
Yeah.
Um,
But the compact word is not to mean that you shrink to the smallest size that you can be, and therefore not really. You've got to make yourself big. You can make yourself big and be compact. And maybe another word that we can use is um, be selective in your movements as opposed to just moving for the sake of moving. Move according to what you. I always like the comparison, penalty kicks in soccer and playing goal, where in soccer it's such a disadvantage that you can't move until the guy kicks the ball, so you literally have to guess, right? So with goaltenders, if a goaltender in hockey does that, if he waits for the guy, he tries to guess where the guy's gonna shoot the puck, the odds are good that he isn't going to guess right, you know. So so the thing is, it's all in hockey. You have the ability to take a little more time to see where the guy's going, where he might be shooting, and then the technique of playing goal requires you to move sideways, side to side, but then also a little bit out the crease, but you have to do all those things based on higher percentage of probability by the player. In other words, you're it's all working real fast in your head. You're making a decision while the guy's approaching the puck or he's bringing the puck in. Samsonov seems to be not waiting. Maybe he's acting too soon, which makes him look like he's swimming, because now he commits one way and he goes, "Oh no, I'm going the other way." So now he's got to move faster the other way, and then the swimming comes in, where he's basically not really swing. Again, that word compact, why it comes to mind is that he compactly moves across the crease as opposed to wishful thinking.
The easiest way to put it is he's really not helping himself with the fact that he's overly active. I think that's what it
Absolutely.
all boils down to.
Yeah. So, another term that's used for goaltenders is being quieter, not so, not so verbose physically. So, and that tells one it looks like confidence when a goaltender's not moving that much and only moves enough to make the save. That's an implication of confidence in my mind. When you got more of a staccato from the goaltender, that implies that he's guessing and he knows he guessed wrong, so now he's got to recover and guess again, and this time hopefully he'll make up for the guess that wasn't right the last time. So yeah, it's all about goaltenders need to react based on eye contact, concentration, swiveling their head, making sure that they know what's going on around them. It's not an easy position, Aaron. And if you're suffering from some sort of illness or some sort of physical or mental, I should say, mental effect, goaltending is very hard under those circumstances. They really do have to be able to concentrate. And I suppose maybe that's one of the things that he can't do. He can't be a goaltender. He can't concentrate as a goaltender, and he's distracted by outside influences that we're not aware of that the Leafs are hinting to.
Well, however it works out for him, either way, I do hope he manages to get the help that he needs to see himself through it, because until Joseph Wall gets back, we need the assistance. I know
No,
that Michael Hutchinson is currently on waivers. I don't know if the Leafs would be willing to go back to that well, but this is something that we need to be aware of and something that we need to get solved as quickly as possible. For lack
well,
of a
they can
better term.
pick him up and then just put him up, and then he'll end up going again. But to me, what it looks like with the Leafs is that they've got a team that is above the wild card, right? They're above the wild card, so they're not struggling. They're not that much higher than the wild card. They're not struggling to make the playoffs. So you've got 6 of one and half dozen of the other. You've got a team that plays well enough to make the playoffs, but you definitely know that you need a number one goaltender. They don't have one. So they're doing all this without a number one goaltender, ultimately, is what we're talking about. And one has to wonder, and if you're a Leaf fan, you have to wonder, how good could this team be if they actually had a goaltender, as my goaltending coach friend said, could steal a game for you.
Yeah, that's always been the real question. How many NHL teams out there would actually be doing better if they actually had the parts that they actually needed? A lot of the times, you get into just big old guessing games here, and even if all the right pieces do appear to be in place, you may not necessarily be where you want to be. So,
Absolutely. All right. Real quick, some news. We'll take we'll take a bit of a break. NDP's Jagmeet Singh rules out coalition government with the Liberals at the next election. Some might suggest that might be the only way the Liberals take power. This is a situation where voting Liberal may be a little more difficult for most Canadians, and they might feel like giving a chance to the Conservatives, I guess.
well, and the arrangement that Jagmeet, sorry, has with Trudeau and with the Liberals is actually technically only supposed to last until 2025. So once the new election happens, depending on the results there, I at this point here, based on the rumblings that I've seen coming out of both political camps, a coalition government is probably not going to happen. Um, the projections are at this point, the Liberals are going to be fading into obscurity while the NDP will be on the rise and potentially forming the next opposition to a minority conservative government. However, this pans out, we'll see. I'm not holding my breath on it, but I trust our political parties to make the best decisions for the citizens of this country.
Educate yourself,
Mm-hmm.
understand what's up for grabs, and don't let the fact that the exact the exact candidate you're looking for isn't available. Vote for the one that's closest to what you believe, because if you do that, and then the next time around there'll be more candidates that fit that profile. If a lot of quiet people that are frustrated and don't feel voting helps, if you do vote, you can start. It's like herding cattle. You might not get them to the grass field you're looking for tomorrow, but with each ensuing election, it requires a lot of patience. If you keep voting to the people for the people who closely relate to what you want and what you believe in, try to have faith in the political system, folks, because if you don't have faith in democracy, there are other options that are waiting to pounce. So make your best decision, trust your judgment, and understand that you can't get all what you want, but you might be able to get a little bit of what you need.
Sounds about right.
Quebec, union representing 4% of Quebec teachers deal ends unlimited strike. What happened there, Aaron?
So they actually got a little bit lucky. There was a union representing 40% of Quebec teachers that have reached a deal in principle with the government and are ending a strike that has shut around 800 schools since November 23rd. The Fédération Autonome de l'Enseignement, or FAE, said Thursday night that they spent the day analyzing a tentative deal with the province and will recommend it to its members for approval during general assemblies after the holidays. Details of the agreement have not been released. Even though the FAE called the deal a new step, they emphasize that it's up to the teachers to respond to François Legault's government and say whether they feel they have been sufficiently heard. They basically saying we've ended all of our pressure tactics, such as the general strike that has shut 800 schools, including in Montreal, since the end of November. If students affected by the strike return to school as scheduled in January, they'll been away from classes for almost 7 consecutive weeks. So this is really something that we're doing to try to help them out.
Let's talk about how thick ice has to be safe, folks. If you can't figure out on your own right now, ice may not be very strong at this point in the winter, especially considering the way it's been. Please don't even try, but go ahead. Tell the story, Aaron.
So basically what you're looking for is you're looking for ice that is at least 15, that's 1.5 centimeters thick or 6 inches for a person to walk or skate on it. You're looking for something that's about 8 inches or 20 centimeters thick for a group of people, and at least 25 inches or 25 centimeters, sorry, or 10 inches for snowmobiling. The easiest way to look at that is look out across your nearest frozen body of water. If it's
Absolutely.
blue or black, that is your best option for skating on it. It also looks the prettiest. If there is a layer of white snow on top, then you'll want to dig down a little bit and chip into it to see if there is blue or black ice underneath it. That is safest. If it's gray or if there is a thin skim of water on the surface, stay off because it's nowhere near strong enough to support your weight. Now, my neighborhood also used to have what they call the pickup truck test. This is where somebody would take an old junker and park it out there on the lake. And when the truck breaks through, that's when you know you have to get off the ice.
Okay, let's talk about what's going on in the United States with Donald Trump. This time, Maine bars him. Let me read the 14th Amendment, Section 3, so we can talk about it. Because in this case, that's what this is all about. No person shall be a senator or a representative in Congress or elector of president and vice president or hold any office, civil or military, under the United States or under any state who, having previously taken an oath as a member of Congress or as an officer of the United States or as a member of state legislature or as an executive or judicial officer of any state to support the Constitution of the United States shall be engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the same, or given aid or comfort to enemies thereof. But Congress may vote of 2/3 of each house remove such disabilities. So the short, I want that last part because we don't hear from the media much about that. But Congress may vote of 2/3 of each house to remove such disability. So in other words, if a person is running for election, in this case, Trump, right? And then a state says, no, you can't, but this is for the election. This isn't for what we're doing here now as the primaries. But the point is that there's a political fix in case the courts do something. This tells me that Congress has more power than the courts, but the courts can state a point, take a stand, like the courts are taking now around the U.S. in the states. They can take a stand, and then the way for some it's the attorney generals in the states. They can make a decision, or the local or the state judicial people can make a decision, and then of course this is what it's talking about. And what do they base the decision on to not let Donald Trump be in the primary or president? It's very simple. If he's an insurrectionist, in other words, he rebels against the Constitution of the United States. And here's the clear point that people need to understand. A guy, a gal, a person, anyone who stands there and swears to to uphold the Constitution and does not, they do not get a second kick at the can to be be in government. It's that simple. And what people get hung up on is they're saying, well, legally he wasn't charged with being an insurrectionist. But that's not all that's the highest part of the bar. There's the bar where if you know if there was an insurrection and you give them comfort or essence, love or comfort, protection or comfort, which he did. He said he loved them. He said he would free them of jail. These are people who were charged with insurrection. So they were insurrectionists. And he's giving them comfort. Folks, we're spending too much time trying to hit every number when you don't have to. You know, it's just as simple as that he does side with insurrectionists, and that means he can't be president. I don't understand the difficult understanding that people have with that, but it's pretty simple, and it's a pretty big slam dunk for me. And I'm waiting to see when it goes into the Supreme Court what kind of dance they're going to do, and it's probably going to involve process. Aaron, to you.
I have the feeling that it is definitely going to involve process. The other part of it here is, of course, the fact that they're trying to put off his trial and put off his trial and put off his trial until such time as they believe that the election can be properly concluded, at which point, you know, his removal from the ballot will no longer matter. That this is the base essence of what they're trying to do here. You know, one of the things that they actually put into place when they put the Constitution into place was also to defend themselves from themselves. You know,
Well,
it's great that you want to, you know, question everything and rebel against everything, but at the same time, there's got to be a limit.
It's the Trojan horse they're trying to protect themselves against.
Yep.
And for most of you know what a Trojan horse is. If somebody comes into the government that really has no intention of being a positive thing in that government, well, why would you want them in? And if they're going to destroy government as you know it, it's crazy. But for me, the biggest thing, and you know, the biggest thing that I'll say, the other thing that I think is important, is that I don't think I should have to trust politicians to tell me when politicians can't run for office. Are you hearing what I'm saying? Politicians telling us when they can or when they can run for office and when they can't. Politicians are going to tell us that, because that is essentially what's wrong here. You want to talk about the deep state, talk about the deep, one common thing all politicians have, and that is they want to make their lives simpler. We've got senators who have accepted bribes, gold bars and such, and there they sit. The police have the evidence. At the very least, at the very least, it's common practice in any business, in any situation, the police, anything where someone's suspected of doing or breaking the law, right? They're suspended. They're asked, you need to sit on the sidelines now until this situation gets sorted out. And if you get sorted out in your favor, you come back in. If you don't, I don't know, Aaron, sorry, I'm venting.
No. I understand that perfectly. One last question for you, Frank, before we go. Who do you got, Toronto or Columbus tonight? Because the game goes live in about the next 35 minutes or so. Do you take Columbus, who's on a 3-game losing streak, or Toronto, who's just stumbled against Ottawa?
You know, they've beaten Columbus a couple of times, so you know there's that, right? But I'll pick the Leafs just because for the most part this season and for the last little while, they follow bad games with good games, and we'll see if that's the case tonight. If they're who they are, and if the goaltender plays a game that isn't given away, the Leafs got a chance to win. But if it's a giveaway game by the goaltender, and we know who the goaltender is, it could be bad. It could be ugly.
Well, we're going to check on that. I'm going to call this one a trap game, and I'm going to give it to Columbus. We can check in the new year, which will be the next time that we'll see each other. But in the meantime, thanks, Frank. Really appreciate that.
Thanks for the whole year of fun that we've had. I really appreciate it, and thanks for doing this. He's Aaron William Freeland. I will. Thank you. You too, and give our love to Michelle. Thanks, Aaron, for Aaron William Freeland. I'm Frank Stanisci. Thank you for watching Candid Frank Leaf Talk. seen live on Fridays. This show can also be heard on the Spanglish World Radio Network for Leaf Talk, other news, entertainment, and sports programming we offer. Please check out SpanglishWorld.ca. Spanglish World. Watch it here, read it, download it. Thanks for watching, everybody. Don't forget Candid Frank Stanisci on YouTube. Enjoy the hockey.